What you doing over there? Throwing money into the money pit. The money pit? Yeah, it's where I throw all my wasted money. My jet ski payments, sports betting, overpriced iced coffee, my kids' college fund, my subscription to Feed Finder. What did you just say? It's not what you think. You know, it's the website that that you can subscribe to, and it'll tell you how to measure something in feet. Big Keith, I don't care what you do outside of the office, but your kid's college fund shouldn't be in the money pit. It's a potentially great investment in the future. Any investment for your child's future should be viewed as a noble thing. As for Feed Finder, you should really learn to have some shame, man. I won't, and you can't make me.
Welcome to your kid's future. They pick the red pill, they go to college, they get a degree in nuclear engineering, and create the warp drive, which will revolutionize space travel. They pick the blue pill, they stay in dreamland. They become a famous Twitch streamer who plays Pokemon to millions of adoring fans. No, I'm not talking about drugging your kid. We're talking about planning for the future and how you can contribute to it financially. Let's see how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Well, when you start planning for your kid's future, it is important you have an idea of what you're planning for. Usually one of the biggest decisions you have to make is, are you planning to pay for college? Or are you planning to give a gift to your kids in the future? One sets your kid on a more direct path, and the other gives them more flexibility to choose their own. Think of it like when you commission an artist to do work for you. If you hire a sketch artist, you can tell them to draw what you want. Whereas if you hire an abstract artist, you might not know what you're going to get. But either way, it should be a beautiful work of art. Now, as you can probably guess, most people really won't worry about this unless they have a kid. Sort of like people in Wisconsin don't need to worry about being trampled by elephants. It helps to have a kid. Before you do anything crazy, no, I'm not suggesting you go to a park and borrow a kid. It's not a good idea. Don't do that. In all reality, this topic can pertain to anyone that's part of a family, even if it's not directly your child. It can be a grandparent, aunt, uncle. You can even be a close friend in some cases. The point is that you are providing a resource for someone's future, someone you care about, which is a beautiful thing. One thing I always like to clarify, you should only do this if you have thought through the potential consequences. The most common thing I tend to see are parents that sacrifice their retirement or their future to plan for their kids. Don't get me wrong, there's nothing wrong with planning for little Jimmy's future, but generally not at the expense of yours. Unless you want to, in which case, I'll shut up, because you're an adult and you can subscribe to whatever website you may want to. So what options should you look at if you want to get started? Generally speaking, there are two main categories of options. And this is why it's important for you to decide if we're planning for education or flexibility. First, let's go over the education options. There are two accounts for this direction. The 529 and the Coverdell. No, not Cloverfield, Coverdell. These accounts are meant for education. They are tax efficient, which means that they're potentially tax deductible. They grow tax deferred, and you don't pay taxes when the money is used for qualified education purposes. The Coverdell is largely used for private schooling prior to college. However, the 529 tends to be more preferable now because it can do pretty much everything the Coverdell can. So it's not used as much. So I'm not going to go too in-depth into a 529 because we have another video on that. If you're interested, you can go ahead and take a look. But the 529 is a chunky investment for college. Generally speaking, the 529 is the best way to go. The big downside of these accounts is that if you do not use it for education, you pay taxes and penalties, which is why it's important that you have an idea if you want to plan for education or not. Otherwise, there are other and better options. It's like jumping on a boat, hoping it's a cruise to the Caribbean, just to realize it's a freighter going to Siberia. It's more of a pain to get off, so make sure you're on the right vehicle. The second category of investments are flexible investment vehicles. In other words, starting their own business, vacations, or gambling. Not that they should do that, but hey, you're entrusting them. For this category, there are two main investment vehicles. These are the UTMA/UGMA and a general brokerage account. UTMAs and UGMAs are brokerage accounts for minors. These two types of accounts are very similar, with one major difference: the current and future owner. So both of these accounts are taxable platforms, which means that you can buy and sell investments within the vehicle, and any growth is subject to capital gains tax. However, the difference between the two is that the UTMA is a brokerage account that will eventually be owned by the minor. And no, we're not talking about Cole, the kid. We're talking about the kid. No, the kid's not coal mining. We're talking your kid. Versus the brokerage account, which is owned by whoever sets it up. Think of the UTMA/UGMA like an account you're setting up to legally, eventually, be turned over to the child. It varies by state depending on the age, but with UTMAs and UGMAs, when the child turns 18 to 21, depending on the state, the money becomes legally theirs. This can be less than ideal for some parents, because let's just say at 21, I wouldn't have spent the money on sugar plums and guitar lessons. So just keep that in mind when you're setting up an account and deciding which one. So where do you set one of these up, Big Heath? I want to plan for my kids' future. But by that, I mean I want them out of my house. So I can stop hearing about vaping, boys, the kill-to-death ratio in Call of Duty. I'm kidding, of course. You'd never think like that. Anyways, it varies slightly on the account. But really, you can set it up on your own or get somebody to help you. For the 529 plan, there are state websites for that state-specific 529 plan that tend to be pretty easy to set up. For UTMAs and brokerage accounts, you can set those up wherever you go for normal investments. Of course, your friendly neighborhood finance geek can always help. If you have your own trusted, not as funny, not as handsome financial professional, they can point you in the right direction as well. That's our show. Thanks for watching. And remember, don't look at investing for your kids' future as a bottomless pit. It might very well take them to the highest peaks of the world. See you next time.